Now, what you're doing right now, you're just testing that in a browser. Okay. Now, at times, what you can do is that you can test the same thing in two different ways. Now you're using a browser to check whether it works fine or not. At times, you can use some other tool for checking that. What is the tool? A Postman tool. You can have the Postman tool as a part of your extension. Let me click apps. We don't have any extension, right? Look at that. Postman extension for Chrome. Click that and you click add to Chrome and add app. It will take some time. Then it will set the particular Postman as a part of extension. Or if you feel that your system is good enough to occupy this library, what you can do? You can install Postman as part of your system. Look at that. I do have Postman as part of my system as an application. You can have that also. It will take some time for this to produce, and you can see at the background, Postman is also added as an extension of my Chrome. What you can do? Same URL. Since it is a get method, right? Copy paste. Copy paste, and this is get method. Look at that. Now whatever I passed is nothing but a query parameter. Look at that. So I need to click the param, and if at all any input that I supposed to give as a part of a query parameter, you can pass it here. If you remember in here, what is this? ID is equal to 1. So in a URL, when you put something after the question mark, that we call it as query string. Okay. So whatever you see right now is nothing but a URL with a query string. So just because you're sending ID is equal to 1 doesn't make this API as a post method. Still is the get method, but you're trying to get a specific method. You're not putting an input back to the table or input back to the code. You're trying to fetch a specific data. So that we call it as query parameter. So in any URL, when you see a question mark after that some data, then you itself can recognize or predict that yes, that is a query parameter. So when you run, look at that. The response that I expected is produced here. That's what Postman does. A Postman is a tool for checking out your stuffs. Okay. And Postman you can have as an application also. Look at that. Go to app, click Postman. So whatever that you've done with the physical application, same thing you can do. Okay. You can just click that straight away to the application and click there, close there, and you can enter the ID. Okay. If you put here, you will get an option. Look at that header, body, press skip, test. Let me run this. There you see, you got an output. Okay. So now tool is better than that of extension, but at times when you don't have the accessibility to download any tool, it's better to have the extension. This is what it is. And we do have another tool called Insomnia to check the same. Okay, now this is second layer. So one, we checked via browser. Number two, we checked via the tool called Postman, and there is another tool called Insomnia that also you can use. Third, you can test it via your Python. Okay, let me show you how that. Let me open that with a PyCharm. Right. Let me create another Python file here. Import request. I guess you don't have that one. So let me go to file, setting, Python interpreter 3.9 and see if you have a request. Yeah, it is already there. Okay, it's not there. Let me install that quickly. It is installed. Let me close this. Let me click OK. Right. Look at that. Data is equal to request dot get of that URL and print data dot content. Let me show this. It's indexing. You can see at the bottom of the screen, it is still blocking or it is still configuring certain features. Wait for some time. Right. Now it is done with the indexing. Let me run this. Look at that. The data that is supposed to be for the ID1 is getting displayed here. Since you are retrieving that with the normal stuff, right? It is giving the binary code. You know how to convert this. You can do the output into the encoding mechanism to get the data result. So basically, either it is a Flask or a Django. If you have a certain codes, if you have a certain elements, or certain API, you can test in three different ways. One is on the browser, second one is on the tool, third one is through any software language that you familiar with, either it is a Python or any language. Since we are dealing with Flash, right, it's always good that you try with the Python. So this is how you can test. So even in our time, right, so at time, if there is something that I have to test manually, I have to do with the Postman, and sometimes I have to check whether the code is working fine along with my Python code. I have to run this and check. Okay, this is what we call it as finding out or checking out the API. Precisely testing of APIs. Okay, so now whatever we seen is the various get method as well, different get method. So now we'll be focusing on various post method, how to use the post method concept. Okay, so now we're gonna check a post method. Whatever we seen is, guys, get method. Now we're gonna see the post methods. Right. Okay. So this is how you work with the get method. Okay. As I discussed, right, there are a lot of methods that you get associate yourself in Flask. First is get method. Get method we've already seen. When you want to get a text or some sort of output from the API, you use get method. And post method we're gonna see right after this. Post method is something that we need to put some input to get the output. And that what post method. And there is a method called head. Head means almost it is similar to the get method, but there is no response body. We'll be getting it directly. And there is a method called put method, even though we don't use normally, but you need to understand. So what it will do is that it will replace all the representation that we had with the initial code. Okay, that means it will update the content. That's what it is. Delete means whatever the data will give, it will delete that particular data from the table or from any source. So these are the different methods that we associate, but here nothing to worry. Only two methods that you need to focus is one, the particular get method and post method. Okay. Now I'm going to explain you the post method in a different way. Okay. So let me go to the folder where we have this. So let me create one HTML file. Okay. Okay. So let me create a normal HTML body, and then we're going to set a form. So when you want to display this, that is what we call it as form action. What that form supposed to do? So form needs to go to this specific folder 127.0.0.1 colon 5000 slash say admin. Okay, so method is equal to, you need to mention the method that you want to consume. So let that be post method. Okay, now you're going to set three things. Okay, look at that. Player name, then you need to do the input. Input is the type. Input means I'm going to get the data. So input space type. What type it is? It is of text type. Okay, followed by what you need to put is equal to name. Okay, let me just put like a and then slash and then close the paragraph. Okay, so in the next para, that is in the next line, I'm going to create another input. Input means I'm going to do it. Type is equal to, it is of submit type. Basically, you're going to get one text box where you need to enter the data and you're going to enter the submit button. Submit value. Value is also submit one. Okay, then close that and show to the P. Okay, next what you can do, you close the form. Next what you can do, you close the body. Next you can put the HTML. Okay, so now go to file, save as. Let me put something like, let me put like admin.html and select this all files and save. So basically you created HTML file that you can see here, admin g. It's an HTML file. Now I'm going to have the post method along with the get method. I'm going to have both. Okay, so let me just truncate the one which is already running. Okay, it's done with running. So let me create another Python file. Python post as usual, from flask import flask JSONify request and URL for. These are the libraries you need to install. As usual, you need to create an application using your Flask method. Okay. If you ask me more in last code, you put like flask.flask, but why here plus? Because at line number 1 itself, I directly derived this capital Flask, so I can use it directly. Okay. Now I'm going to create an application. Definition 1. Application name itself 1. Just for the namesake. Colon. Return. Welcome. Format of. You're going to welcome some data. Let that be a name data. Okay. So now you're going to decorate this specific function with your routing at the rate app.route, and as of now it should be empty route. Okay.